Great, and the winner was a company called Orca Security. They are also based in Tel Aviv, Israel. And their CEO and their Chief Product Officer, who is going to be presenting here, both came from Checkpoint. So we didn't influence the voting. Again, you were the ones who voted. They only started the company about a year ago. They learned a lot of what they know in cyber from being at Checkpoint, and their specialization is security in the cloud. Now, you'd be forgiven for thinking that half of the population, or half the male population of Israel is called Gil, because we have another one here. Please join me in welcoming Chief Product Officer of Orca Security, Gil Geron. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Allow me to introduce Orca Security and how we can achieve complete, superior cloud security and deliver it seamlessly. To understand how it works, let me invest a minute to explain the MRI and how we managed to provide something very similar in your cloud security. The MRI revolutionized the way that we are doing medical diagnostics. It is able to utilize superconductors to resonate magnetic fields that are able to produce a 3D mapping of our body. Every particle of our body is being scanned and produced into this image. It is replacing all techniques that were painful and were invasive procedures, like using needles, like taking samples from our body, or even using heavy radiation X-rays. And so this technique basically replaced all of these and provided a complete visibility, superior detection, and completely seamless from a side channel without impacting the patient itself. Orca is doing something very similar to your cloud. At this point, allow me to introduce myself. I am Gil. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Orca and one of the co-founders. Along with architects from Checkpoint and Palo Alto, we've established Orca in a single mission in mind. We thought to ourselves, what could be the biggest problem we can tackle? And I believe that every one of you is familiar with that problem. When we are looking at challenges we have today and breaches that happened in past years, it's not that we are lacking the tools. It's the fact that we have a lot of friction when we try to deploy security solutions and to use them. And so in many cases, we find that the problem is having the right tool at the right time in the right place. And it's no coincidence that the attackers are looking for that weak chain. And so what we said is that whatever we do, we want to allow agility, we want to allow velocity in the organization while keeping it secure. So what we need to do is we need to find a way to provide security seamlessly. And so we will show you how our technique can allow you to transform to the cloud and provide even superior security than what was available on-prem. To understand how, let's take a look at the need for securing the cloud. The infrastructure in the cloud and our data centers in the cloud are completely different than what we had on-prem. We have stuff like VMs, blobs, buckets, databases, containers, control plane configuration, and even serverless that we need to protect. And so we need to find a way that is replacing these old techniques of using agents, antiviruses, vulnerability management agents, network scanners, and even DLP agents, because they fail to complete and we cannot deploy them on all of these architecture at ease, especially when we are talking about the fact that we want to use the cloud for scalability and for velocity. And so we found that there are no more in use in most of cloud environments, and we didn't find a single customer that have more than 50% deployment of host-based security solution in the cloud. And not only that, because they are used to work only on host-based security, they lack the ability to look at the big picture and understand what is the context and how the services are built. And so we found that you can actually filter 95% of the security alerts when looking at the cloud. And so we've provided a radically better approach. we have changed the way that we provide security in the cloud. We are harnessing the cloud infrastructure itself to achieve the security. We are able to provide complete coverage over your entire estate, current and future, within minutes. We are able to do so by providing superior security in this holistic approach, because when you are able to look on the entire environment and understand the risk, you can actually prioritize much better and focus on the real problems. We've done so by our invention and patent pending technique, which is called side scanning. Side scanning technique is able to infuse security into the infrastructure itself, which means that whenever you're using any one of these services, you have security visibility out of the box. The way that it works is that we are connecting and we are integrating into your cloud infrastructure using open API that exists in all of the cloud vendors, AWS, Azure, GCP, and all of the rest. And using this integration, we are able to read the virtual machine block storage while the machine are running with no impact. Think of it like the MRI of your cloud. From that, every particle in the cloud, we can achieve complete visibility. And so from that block storage details and bits and bytes, we can deduce the file system, the OS, the application, the data, and then we can understand the security posture of the asset. In the cloud, we have another amazing capability. We are able to understand the network, the configuration. We can read every proxy, every load balancer, everything that can allow us to understand the actual possible attack vector and to filter almost all of the security alerts that are irrelevant and don't allow us to focus on the real problems. We are able to do so in 1 minute integration. And we are able to do so with no impact on your running workloads with 100% coverage. And so, just as an example, you can see here, this is the entire documentation for onboarding. Nothing else. One click, and you're completely covered in terms of security. And you will be able to see incidents, like for example in this case, where you have software vulnerability. One of your servers has an NGINX server that is vulnerable for remote code execution, and it is correctly prioritized because you can deduce that it is internet facing. Or in this case, where you have weak or leaked passwords. So many times people are accidentally opening FTP services or SSH services with weak passwords or even leaked passwords that are commonly used and are easily breached. Other cases are cases like we saw in Capital One, where you can actually gain lateral movements, or in this there is an SSH key that allows root permissions to other assets, and that is exactly what the attackers are looking for in order to lateral move to the cloud. And cases where we find in almost all POCs where you have neglected assets that were unpatched for years and have hundreds of CVEs, and eventually lead to cases where you have actual breaches. 20% of the customers that we are working with, we found a crypto miner in production. And would you guess what is the common fix? To close that asset, to terminate it. Because in most cases, these are simply neglected assets that exist and no one patched before. And we are doing so by providing you also deep visibility of your PII, your sensitive data, and making sure it's properly stored, properly maintained, it's not at risk, and it's compliant with your organization policy on how to make sure that this data is properly protected. Guys, we're Orca Security. We harness the cloud infrastructure to provide you complete, superior cloud security, and we deliver it seamlessly with no agents, no impact, and less than 5 minutes integration. If you have more questions, come meet us at our booth or visit us on our website. We'll be more than happy to answer any question and explain how this works. Thank you very much, guys. Enjoy it all.